Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello, welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You are watching A Better You, lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am your host, your executive producer, director, and broadcast engineer. And I'm so excited because we have 3 experts backstage waiting to present lessons to help make us better personally and professionally. This is a presentation platform with people I've invited with these hands from across the world. I've hand selected them, and they are on our team, bringing us their expertise and teaching us 7 times a week on A Better You. Who are they, you ask? Let's bring them out. Joining us from New Zealand, it is Mariska du Preez. Joining us from Texas, Red O'Laughlin, and also from Texas, right down the street from Red, it's Mr. Hiett Ives. Hi, welcome.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
I feel like I'm at a family reunion. It's good to see you guys.
Howdy, y'all.
Good to be seen.
Well, it really does. So I'm really excited because each of you have so much to share, and you show up so professionally every time you present, and I really appreciate all of you. I'm looking forward to this trifecta that we have today with 3 presenters in the house. And before we begin with the presentations, as always, I like to spotlight each one of you and share a little bit about what's important to you and how has your life changed as a result of the pandemic. I changed it up. All right, Mariska, I'm going to go to you. You are prepared for that, okay?
Wow, okay. Throw me in the deep end, a little bit like the pandemic. So let's see. How did my life change with the pandemic? There's a few things that I do different. There's a few things that I do more regularly of. I think one of the things that came up for me, especially during the pandemic, is my husband has a tendency to be quite germ conscious. And the pandemic made me more germ conscious, so much so that, well, we can be annoyed with each other now a little bit regarding germs. So yeah, that's a fun fact there. I think I also appreciate having conversations in person more. So that is something that I do appreciate more. And it also gave me the opportunity to broaden my network worldwide. So I went on different courses, meet different people, and it feels like I have a little family now in the US. So one day when I can travel a little bit more freely, I'll actually be able to come and visit a whole bunch of you guys.
Yes.
So yes, that I would say would be my answer to that question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that. That's really great feedback. All right. We are going to go over to Mr. Hiett Ives, and we're going to ask him the same question, but you're muted, Hiett. So tell us how the pandemic has changed your life and anything that you've learned as a result of it. Okay, we're going to go over to Red, Mr. Red O'Laughlin. If you can share with us how the pandemic has affected you and how you've changed as a result.
Several years ago, I helped Toastmasters transition from an old platform to a new way of doing business, and they do that with Zoom. I was competent with it, but not something I used all the time. Obviously, with COVID, that changed the world. Everything went from meeting in person to meeting online. So going from one Zoom meeting, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe once a week, now it seems like it's 4 or 5 times a week. During the height of COVID, nowadays, for me, it's maybe 2 or 3. In the meantime, last year I started writing, and I said, okay, I'm going to write every day. And so starting January 1st of last year, 2020, I've written every single day. I have not missed a single one over 560 days in a row. But of that 560 plus, over 260 plus of those are in COVID, some aspect of research that I've done on that particular one. When COVID hit, my client base was pretty decent, just dropped to zero literally in a month, and it's picked back up again this year. A lot of my domestic projects that I had on hold have been done, and my wife and I have gone out and found some new ones to do. But in between that, my own personal education, my research all continues on, and I'm starting to get back out of the house again. So thank you so very much for asking, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Hyatt is back in the house, but he's still muted. Hello, Hyatt. Yes. Remember, we're watching you. We are. Yes. So I'm going to share a little bit about how it impacted me while we wait for Hyatt. So one thing that came up, I went away for the weekend with my mother to see family, and I didn't realize how lonely I felt, and then how awkward it was to be with other people. Because when you're not with anyone, and then all of a sudden there's all these people and everyone wants a hug and everybody wants a kiss, and it's kind of like, whoa. And it's actually very emotional, and I wasn't aware of it before. So that's one thing. And Hyatt, we'd love to hear from you now. How's technology impacted you? No, how has the pandemic impacted you?
Well, of course, one of my claims to fame is business-to-business trade shows. In fact, I've got a book, 88 Successful Event Strategies. So I was very much into the live trade show world, which obviously has been dead and dormant for the last 18 months. And it's actually started to come back. In fact, I'm taking a client to a live trade show on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. The same trade show that 2 years ago, when it was last held, had almost 1,500 delegates, and they're now hoping to have 500 to 700 delegates at the same event. So it's coming back slowly. I was at an event today that was 20 people live and I think 45 people hybrid. So it has required me to pivot a little bit and show how many of the tools and techniques that I use in live trade shows are applicable for hybrid shows.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. I am very excited for you to get started. I'm going to ask Mariska, are you ready, or should I go to a break and then come back?
All
right.
Either or. I'm good to go if you are ready to
Yes. Go. Yes. Here you go, my friend. Here is your presentation. Do you want the timer?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me get that for you. And here we go.
Ah. Ta-da! Okay. So today we are talking about mindset and the basics of mindset. So we're busy with our mindset series, and we have discussed some of the elements about mindset, and for today it's the basics of mindset, going a little bit more into the understanding of it. So the elements that we will be looking at is learning to transform, consistency, and awareness. Now, for transforming your learning, this, I think, is something that we do need to spend some time on because it is so vital. A lot of people learn, they'll go through material, and that's the end of it. Now, when we're learning for transformation, what we're doing is we go through the material, then we ask ourselves, what did I understand of this material that I just went through? Where can I apply the things that I understood, right? We can't apply things we don't understand. Apply the things that you did understand. So where can I apply that? And then we go out and we do by experimenting. So each one of these elements has something that we can unpack a little bit more. So going through the material, really immersing in what it is that you want to learn. And make a study of it, not just a reading through it. And this is where the what do I understand question comes in. Because what you would find will happen is the first time that you go through material, especially if it's something brand new that you've never tried before, you sort of have to compete with all the new terminologies, all the new ideas, try to figure out how these things work and line up. So there's a lot of figuring out in that process. And we might not understand everything or in depth. In saying this, there is things that we do understand. So what is it that we understand? And then looking at what we understand, where can we apply that within our life? Because, I mean, preferably you don't want to be learning just for, I don't know, no apparent reason. There would be some reason why you are learning something that you want to improve, something that you might want to change, something that you might want to do differently, whatever the case might be. We are learning for a reason. So where am I applying what I'm learning? From what I understood the first time round. And then I go and I experiment with it. So when we learn by trying different things out, we can actually see how this can be more applicable. And I remember this very vividly, especially from my engineering training, where we had a lot of theory. And I remember this specifically within thermodynamics. There was a lot of theory and there was graphs, and I couldn't quite place how this exactly worked in the real world. It didn't quite make sense to me. And then I was fortunate enough to go to a power station where they utilized the thermodynamic principles. And I was actually able to see the physical boiler system that heated up the water, the system that it went through when it went into steam and superheated steam areas. So that started for me personally to put my theoretical parts and my physical in practice parts together. And I could actually see how these things start to line up and how they work. So this is part of the experimentation, how we can implement it in our life or expose ourselves to areas in the learning that we are going through to deepen our understanding of it and to deepen our exploration of it. And then, of course, you'll see that it's a circle. So once you did this once, you go back to the material and you learn again. You go through it again, study the material from the beginning to the end. Yes, I know you've already read the book. Wonderful, read it again. The reason for this is every time we do this, because our level of understanding changed, we see things differently. We pick up on different things. We pick up on different nuances within it. And we become different people through the process, so the way we look at it is different. So reading through the material again, what do I understand now? How can I apply that to where I'm in my journey now? and then, of course, again, experimenting. So transformative learning is all about that cycle of going through the learning and not just reading the book, saying, oh yeah, wonderful information, and putting it down. That actually does not much other than cram your brain with a whole bunch of information that you are bound to forget. The next is consistency. Now, consistency consists of attention that we pay over a period of time. Now, thinking about attention, this is an investment for us to be consistent and for us to actually get to do something that is worthwhile. Doing a little bit each day will help us over time to build the muscles and the knowledge that we need and the pathways within our brain to actually get better and better and better and better at whatever it is that we're doing. So this is part of the mindset, because when we're changing something or we are creating a new habit or even breaking old ones, the attention is really important. So the attention that we pay is on what it is that we actually want to achieve, because looking at what we want to not achieve is actually pointing our attention literally into that direction. And we don't want more of it, so we actually want to point our attention away from it to something that we do want. It's a little bit like the dartboard. If you point your arrow towards the dartboard and throw it, your dart, then it's going to go to the dartboard. If you do it enough times, you can throw consistent in the spot that you aimed for. If, however, we don't do that, then it becomes a bit of a different thing. And the attention is really important in this equation due to the fact that if I want to have a dart in the dartboard, but I'm standing with my back to the dartboard and actually looking at the opposite side of the room, the likelihood of me getting the dart into the dartboard is very low because my attention is in the wrong place. So attention here, very key aspect around using your attention over time, being consistent, and actually hitting that goal that you want to be hitting. And this is part of how our mindset is formed. Then the last one is awareness. Now, there was quite a number of studies done around awareness. There was one specific one that stood out to me where they looked for aware unicorns. So the reason why they called these people unicorns is because most of us think we are aware. They have found, however, that most people are not aware. They think they are aware, but they're not. So what they did in the study is they asked the individual, are you aware? And how has being aware changed how you are? Or has it changed how you are? So if they tick both of those boxes, yes, I am aware and it has changed how I operate in the world, they also then ask one of their friends. So is this person aware? And can you actually see how their awareness change how they operate in the world? And if they tick both those boxes as yes, then we have an awareness unicorn. Now, most people think they are aware, but they are unfortunately not. The reason that they found this appears is because most people, when they think about awareness and thinking about the thinking that you're doing, because that's basically what you do when you aware, or what you're feeling, or what's coming up for you, really. Most people ask why. Now, when we look at the question why, the answers it provides us is reasons. Why did this happen? It gives me a list of reasons why it can possibly have happened. Why did this go wrong? It is providing me, again, with reasons why something went wrong, situation happened, I feel a certain way. It's all reasons. Whereas when we ask the question, what, we find that it points us more to solutions. What can I do different? What need to change? So within the what question, they found that the awareness unicorns asked more what questions than why questions. So you too can learn how to be an awareness unicorn. So that is when we look at awareness in our mindset and how that impacts it. Then very last, for us just to help with a little bit of questions that we can ask ourselves when we want to change our mindset and improve ourselves and grow. I have 3 questions for you guys. Where am I in my transformational learning cycle at the moment? So thinking back to the cycle, where are you placed in your cycle? Are you actually making a study of it and identifying where you can implement it and implementing it? Or are you just reading through information? Because then you're not in the cycle at all. Next, what am I investing? And this is a very important word, investing my attention in. So I'm investing attention. It's a very limited resource, so be sure to invest it where you want to go to. And then lastly, am I looking for reasons? So am I asking why? Or am I looking for solutions? Am I asking what? And with that, it concludes our lesson for today.
Woo! Well done. Well done. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to hear from some of our sponsors and then we'll be right back on A Better You.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV. I should say welcome back, and Business Talk Radio. In our first segment, Mariska du Preez gave us a fabulous presentation, which we're going to discuss right now. I'm going to go to Mr. Red O'Loughlin. What feedback do you have for Mariska?
As always, very, very professional. Love her accent. It makes me listen just a little bit more closely. She's a super excellent speaker because her pacing, her pauses, the inflections, the very distinct pronunciation, and not only that, she was very consistent from the very beginning to the very, very end. I love the way that she used the slides very sparingly, just a few words, and she talked to the words. That way we weren't focused on reading things while we were listening to her. I love the personal example that one's in there. Thermodynamics, what a great course. But then when you actually get a chance to go out there and see it in action, then you have the theoretical to the practical, and that gives that reiteration that she's talking about. And that reiteration obviously becomes more clearly understood. And she just demonstrates a very, very knowledgeable basics of the topic. So I'm very, very, very pleased with her today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Loughlin. Mariska, anything you want to share with Red?
Thank you for the high praise. I really appreciate that. It's thinking about our journey from Jacalyn. It was February this year. That we started with these. I think going through them, we have improved in our presentation skills, in how we present and what we present. So, and Red was one of the very first people I actually presented with. So,
how about that? This is the 84th show.
It was a Red Mariska show there for a while. It seemed like about 3 times in a row. Every time I came on, Mariska was there. But I can tell you one thing that COVID did. I could do very well on the camera with Zoom. When I finally had an opportunity to go out and do it in person, my skill level, I could tell myself I didn't feel as comfortable. I really noticed it. The second time I did it, I was much better. But getting away from that environment did have an impact, because the first time I did get back, I noticed I was not as comfortable or polished. And that's just one of those things that COVID does. It takes you out of that level where you're just constantly doing things. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hiett Ives, what would you like to add to the party?
Well, I will reiterate a lot of what Red said, both on what Mariska said and also on comfort of talking to people. I am in a couple of networking opportunities that are now meeting live, which when they first started a month ago was quite difficult or awkward or uncomfortable. And now that it's it's getting more and more the norm, it's becoming easier.
Thank you. All right. I think we all agree on that. Good points. And we're going to go to our second presenter, Mr. Who was it?
Hey, yeah.
That's right. It was Hiett. I was going to say Mr. Red O'Loughlin. Okay. It's Hiett Ives without a deck. So, Hiett, I'm going to spotlight you deckless. And
yes, I'm not sure what's happening, but it's happening. So, yeah, we'll make it happen.
Hiett is an expert in so many areas, but sharing the deck is not on the top of the list. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be so. All right, Hiett, if you're ready, I'll spotlight you and we will all go backstage. All right, take it away. Have a good presentation.
Thanks, Doctor. We are looking at trade shows at the event level. This is going to be a series of 5. Jacalyn, give me the time clock, please. We looked at what you do at a trade show at the 30,000 foot level, what you do before, during, and after. We've come down to the 50,000 foot level for at the show and for interacting with individuals. And today we're going to be at the 50,000 foot level, if you will, for the 3 major categories of at the show. And that's who's in your booth, staff-wise, how they interact with the delegates that they're interacting with, and what they do to start the process, the sales process. As I just mentioned, our previous presentation in review was from the logistical side of the ledger, 30,000 foot level. We talked about what you do by arriving early with all of your paperwork, ordering your labor as early as possible, doing as much of yours by yourself as you can or are allowed to do. But that was all logistical. So let's drop down now to the 15,000 foot level, if you will, and talk about the interpersonal elements of the at-show experience. So first element of that, who's in your booth? Who are you going to have in your booth? Well, how many people do you want to involve? Most trade shows are 1 to 2 to 3 days long, and no one individual can effectively do all of that by him or herself. So you need a minimum of 2, even for a 1-day show. I'm taking a client to a 2-day show next Tuesday and Wednesday, and we will be staffing the booth together. We will also be staffing the booth independently while the other walks the floor or takes a lunch break or whatever. So you need a minimum of 2, ideally 3, so that you can have 2 people in the booth at busy times and have the third person walking the floor or doing other things. What level of expertise should your booth staff have? You want to avoid sending the newbies. Send the new guys out there. Let them swim with the sharks. You've got a beautiful opportunity at trade shows to interface with the decision makers and the influencers of your best customers, your best prospects. So be sure you have the right expertise. Be sure you have people that have knowledge of the discipline that is represented at the show, interacts with those clients in that discipline. And if you do have a newbie, have him or her paired with a senior person so that they can be introduced to the decision makers and the influencers. And you need to work up a formal schedule on that so that one person opens the show perhaps in the morning and is there solo for maybe the first hour and a half. But then when it gets to the busy time, then you have 2 people in the booth, and then that third person comes down, relieves one of them, so on. So you want to work on a formal schedule. It makes covering it at the right times a lot easier. So, just an aside, the client that I am taking to the HR show here in Houston next week is a sole practitioner. And I have trained exhibitors at trade shows, and a Chamber of Commerce had an annual trade show, and they asked me to come and train their exhibitors in advance of the show. And I said, you're a sole practitioner, invite your best client to come and help you staff the booth. Well, wow. Think of yourself as the client of somebody, and if they called and said, hey, Sue, hey, Bill, hey, Harry, I'm doing the XYZ show next week. As you know, I'm sole practitioner. I need some help. Could you come and help me staff the booth for a few hours? Well, most of your clients would say, yeah, absolutely. Well, I recommended that to this group the first year I trained them, came back to train the second year. And one of the business owners said, Hiett, I took your advice. I did that last year, and it got to where he was so good at representing me that when I saw a good prospect come up, I'd leave the booth, because when they said, tell me about your company, it was, oh, this is my company. I'm one of their clients, but let me tell you what they do for me. So there's a way to increase your booth staff at no cost to yourself and actually to a great benefit to yourself. So how do they interact with the delegates? So you've got the people that are staffing your booth. How do they interact with the delegates? Well, everyone, yourself and whoever else you have uses the same open-ended question on all delegates. Well, those of you that have heard me on some of the previous ones, what is an open-ended question? It's a question you cannot answer with a yes or no. So rather than, can I show you my widgets? Can I show you this beautiful new product, this new service? Well, even if I need that product or service, ask that way. What am I going to say? No, and it's over. You just ask the same question. When was the last time you used this in your operation? Who's responsible for this in your company? Where in your operation does this fit in? When was the last time you used this product? So you ask open-ended question, and what does that do? That requires the addressee to either qualify themselves or disqualify themselves. It's just as, in fact, it's even as valuable or more valuable to disqualify people. So you can be sure you're talking to the right ones and put each one of them into the appropriate follow-up program. We'll talk about it in a minute. And, the open-ended question can be as specific as you want. My client next week works in a number of disciplines. His homework right now is to determine which discipline, which vertical he wants to promote at the show, and to which audience, because these are HR people from a variety of verticals. So it might be, how do you handle HR in your hospital? Or who handles your HR function in your oil and gas company? Or so you can get down to very specific or stay very broad, but that's where the open-ended question comes in. So other key uses of time, those are obviously the times that you're in the trade show, in your booth. You want to get there early. Most trade shows allow the exhibitors into the floor an hour to up to 2 hours in advance of the opening to the public. Well, I always got there as early as possible so that I could then go and check out my competitors' booths. Literally, I won't say rummage through it, but look at all of their material. I could look at other booths, other companies that might be affiliates that could help me, and we could help them. For many years, I was with an oil equipment company that built very large pieces of equipment that used a lot of subparts. Well, the subpart manufacturers had booths, and I gave them cutaway pieces of my equipment so that they could demonstrate their product. Well, guess who else was being demonstrated? Yeah, my company. At one oil show, I counted 13. Now, granted, there were 2,000 exhibiting companies, but I had 13 other companies exhibiting my product in their booth. Okay, you want to, as I said, visit competitors and potential affiliates during that pre-time, and also talk to some of them. Some of the others that are arriving early have the same idea as you do, and you can come up with some good leads doing that. Also using meals and break time I can't tell you how many times, having bought the $7 hot dog and the $3 bag of chips and sat down in the general eating area, large tables with 8 to 10 chairs around them, and just strike up a conversation with other people doing the same thing. You could talk to other delegates, you talk to other exhibitors, and they're as relaxed as you are, and it really is an excellent time. They're also pre-presentation, rather than turn up as soon as the presentation is ready to start, get there a few minutes early and visit with the other people. If it's of interest to you and you find other people that have the same interest relative to your product or service, it's a great way to identify some of the other delegates in a more relaxed format. They're not rushing through the floor trying to get to this appointment or see that booth. they're there, they're waiting to see a presentation, so they're in a much better frame of mind to talk to. So that's another opportunity. So when the prospect leaves your booth, you want to put them into a show-specific, audience-specific, pre-established CRM program. Many of us have CRM programs for our products and services. We know that our left-handed widgets normally take 6 months to from first introduction to sale, and we know what we have to do during that 6-month period, sending them extra material, just following up on a regular, consistent basis. Put together, if the number one product that you're showing at a particular show is left-handed widgets, well, put together a left-handed widget CRM program that starts the day of the show and follow that through right to its conclusion. One of the things you can do, and here, you can see me, when you set up your booth, before you leave the hall, having set up the booth, you stand in front of the booth with the booth behind you, and you take your phone and you go, "Thank you for stopping by our booth. It was great visiting with you, and I look forward to getting together with you real soon." Click. Now, what do you do with that? After a good prospect leaves your booth, you send that to him. He's walking down the aisle, and what does he get on his phone? "Hi, thanks for stopping by our booth. It was great visiting with you, and we look forward to working with you going forward." How many other people are going to do that? Very simple thing to do, but something that starts the CRM program and puts you top of mind to them. And stay with that CRM program and follow it all the way through. All right, in review, here we go. You bring the right staff with the right credentials to the show. You focus on the delegates and identify your prospects, and you do that by asking the right open-ended question of everybody so that those that are the prospects are going to answer it specifically to you. Put all qualified delegates into the show-specific, audience-specific CRM program, and that may have 2 or 3 verticals. One group may get your monthly newsletter or regular e-bites. The others will get specific product information, service information. And you follow that program to its completion and see the results. You can also, and again, you can't see this, but those of you that want to learn more about how to do trade shows, you can go to Amazon and go to Hiett Ives and go and get the 88 Successful Event Strategies book, or you can go to my website, Hiett@hiettives.com, and go and get your copy of That Ain't Not Right, The Use and Abuse of the English Language, which is a weekly missive, and I have now got 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Doctor, it's all yours. Back to you, Matt.
Woo! Well done. Well done. All great, important information about trade shows as they start to come back. And as you mentioned, you're already going to a trade show with a client. So it's happening now. Miss Mariska, what would you like to share with Hiett?
Hiett, I know that our deck situation was a curveball for you, but I think you did really well even without the deck. I took loads of notes, seeing as Dr. Jacalyn has a sort of show coming up in next year.
Called October 2022 to be precise.
Yes. Exactly.
2021, I believe, to be very precise.
So I am writing down a lot of notes so I can be very prepared. And having more than one person there on the show, and even having somebody that's been a client that can advocate for you. Oh, that was such a good tip. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Was a good tip. Thank you, Mariska. And over to you, Mr. O'Laughlin.
I've known Hyatt for quite a long time. I've listened to him speak. I've helped him with his book. And a lot of his experience comes from learning from your failures. I mean, he gave some really, really good tips about how to do things. They didn't come just because he read something in a magazine somewhere. He's experienced these things. He knows you don't send newbies out to do things. You may pair them up. Having a formal program that says, okay, on this day, at this time, you're going to be here doing this. I mean, those are tips that are just worth their weight in gold. Personal experiences, I think that he incorporated those things for us very, very nicely today. And one of the things that I always love to do is a competitor analysis, because unless you know what you're doing, but unless you know what the others are doing and how well they're doing it, there's a lot to be learned, even just in the world of writing a book. We want to go out and find out who else is in the same field. You want to know what your competitors are doing. It gives you a different mindset. If I go back to Mariska, because now you're seeing the same thing in a slightly different way being employed in whatever operation is there. So I thought Hyde did a very, very good job of just leading us down the road and giving us a tip here and a tip there and a tip there. Very, very nicely done, Hyatt.
Thank you, sir.
Well done, sir. You are a man without a deck who doesn't need it. So there we go.
Well, I was using my deck. You just couldn't see it.
That's all right. It all worked out well. So I'm going to go to Red and find out if you'd like me to take a break, but I already know you're ready to go. Red is ready.
Go ahead and
all right.
Put it on and give me the timer, and I'm ready to roll.
All right. Let me go up to the timer. All right. Here you go.
Hi, Red O'Loughlin here. Alzheimer's Part 1. I started putting together a little spreadsheet where I had the causes of Alzheimer's and then a bunch of things that I could put down the side. I ended up with about 6 or 7 columns and 23 lines going down the side. And I decided I can't do that in 15 minutes, so I'm breaking this thing down into 5 or 6 or maybe 7 different presentations. I am not a medical doctor. I have nothing to do with the medical industry. I've never been in the pharmaceutical industry. It's a disclaimer. I am a researcher. I provide information as education and awareness. I research what goes on in the human body at the cellular level, biochemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a symptom, you'll always treat a symptom. Treat a cause of a problem, and you can get rid of that cause. So I provide information to my audience so that they can take and ask an intelligent question to their doctor and say, what about this? I have written a couple of books in this field. One's called Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging, How to Live to 100 Years of Age with the body of a healthy 50-year-old and the mind of a 25-year-old, and another one called The Joy of Ageless Health, and that's how to be healthy, vibrant, and active as you age. In the healthy longevity one, I have a section in on brain about how you can keep a healthy brain, and on the other one, I talk about some of the things I'm going to talk about today. But what is Alzheimer's? It is a disease that's progressive. It starts out very, very low level, and it starts to destroy the memory and other mental functions. The brain cells, the connections they have start to degenerate and die. We start out with a little bit of confusion. It's more than just where did I leave the keys? That's not Alzheimer's. That's just part of growing older. And Alzheimer's is not an old age disease. You can be 100 years old and not have Alzheimer's. But the symptoms vary. There may be some decline in non-memory things, some aspects of cognition, finding the right word that you used to use all the time. Might have a vision issue or spatial issue. Lots of times impaired reasoning or judgment. They'll tell you there's no cure, and I'm pretty much sure that's true. However, when I start researching, if I go in and say, what causes Alzheimer's? And I'll get a cause like, they're thought to be the abnormal buildup of proteins, the amyloid beta and the tau. And that's kind of what it is. And if you say, well, what causes this or what inhibits this? Almost everything points you to some kind of medicine or therapy that's out there. Sometimes the symptoms appear very early in life, early onset. Sometimes they're later. Sometimes the symptoms are associated with a particular gene, APOE, I think it's apolipoprotein D. But anyway, people with it, yeah, they have a higher risk, but doesn't mean that if you don't have it, you can't get it. There are biomarkers. You can't do an MRI and see you have Alzheimer's, but you can take spinal fluid and blood, and there's some evidence that the proteins are in there and causing a problem. But what really causes the disease? Every disease is caused by inflammation, chronic low-level cellular inflammation. That is, you leave it at the cellular level and it's not controlled, you're going to get mutations, you're going to get a lot of issues, and then pretty soon over time, it's going to develop in a particular area, whether it's the brain, the lung, the kidney, it doesn't matter. You're going to have that thing start to develop. You have no idea what's going on, but over time, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then years later, it might be the size of a golf ball, maybe eventually get up to the size of a softball. We don't know. But it's one of those things that if you can control inflammation on the front end, you're much, much better ahead than anywhere else. What else causes it? Well, I'm going to talk about these other things next week, but one of them is oxidative stress. Another one is that beta amyloid protein. I'll go a little bit into the background of that, what causes it. The tau protein, and a little bit about its processes. We have a chemical in our brain called acetylcholine. And when it has an imbalance, well, we start seeing the same thing. It opens the door for some of these protein imbalances. Excitotoxicity, the toxins and things. There's a lot of different things, and over the next several, 4 or 5, maybe 6 lectures, I'll go into each one in detail and provide some information. So as I look at this chronic low-level cellular inflammation, it's caused by free radicals. These are molecules that have an unstable structure of molecules, and all of a sudden an electron is missing, and it'll reach out and just grab another molecule's electron. Now it's stable, it's happy, but the one it ripped it away from is now a free radical, and it's out looking for another one. So it's kind of a cascading effect. Well, how do you stop that? How do you stabilize it? It's called antioxidants. So we have molecules that can actually go out and give away an electron and not worry about it. They're not creating new free radicals. There's a particular protein that is created in the body when our inflammation body-wise starts to build up. It's called C-reactive protein. It's a simple blood test. You want to keep that down as low as you possibly can get it. I order it every year for my annual physical. Rarely is it measurable. Most of the time, can't be measured, but 0.25 or something like that, I think is one of the highest ones I've had recently. But you want to have your inflammation in your body at the absolute lowest level. That way you're stopping disease progression. There are some molecules like vitamin C that can be regenerated 6 times. And so you have the ability to take one molecule and make 6 out of it. One that's really particularly effective in the brain is called PQQ, pyrroloquinone. PQQ can be regenerated 25,000 times. So it's like one molecule is actually an army of 25,000. And so you want these anti-inflammatory molecules set up so that they're constantly available to tamp down that free radical damage. Now, where do you get that from? Just basic life. Exercise, breathing, thinking, metabolism, eating, food, toxins. Everything in the world causes these things. And so that's what you want to try to control. But from us, brain inflammation, diabetes, high blood sugar, sugar is a big one, poor circulation, lack of exercise, stress, chronic stress, heart failure, respiratory failure, anemia, head trauma, gluten, big one, alcohol, drug abuse. Lots of issues can cause brain inflammation. There's foods that the things we think about all day long, we don't really associate, but your sugar, cooking oils. We have essential fatty acids, your omega-3 and omega-6. They should be basically equal. When they're not, you have omega-3 and omega-6. If they're equal, no inflammation. If the omega-3s are here and the omega-6s are way up there, the imbalance is the extra essential omega-6 fatty acids are inflammatory in the body. And your standard American diet will give you a CRP, the C-reactive protein, 20, 30, 40 times what it should be. Trans fats, dairy, commercially produced meats. These are the ones that are in the feedlots because they're feeding them they're not grass-fed, they're corn-fed. Refined grains, processed meats, a lot of nitrates, a lot of preservatives, food additives. Those are the things that cause inflammation. Now, there's just as many anti-inflammatory ones. Berries, excellent source. Broccoli, fatty fish, sardines, your I have it for dinner, and I can't even think what it is. Salmon, avocados, green tea. Green tea is great in so many ways. Peppers, turmeric, olive oil. Olive oil is an omega-9 fatty acid. It's not essential for the body. The body can use it. Very, very common in the Mediterranean diet. Dark chocolate, cherries. Now, if you say, well, how can I reduce inflammation in the brain? Google's going to tell you, well, we have hyperbaric oxygen therapy. A ketogenic diet will keep the sugars out of the brain. Transcranial low-level light therapy is a good way, and there's other regenerative theories, but they don't talk about natural ways of doing it. So if I'm looking from a natural perspective, what can I do? And again, it's taking care of those things. You avoid the things that cause the problem, and that's the high blood sugar, the poor, the exercise, stress, all the things that we have control over. But then you look at what are the things that I can specifically take that I know will take care of my brain. One of them is resveratrol. You find it in red grapes and red wine. It's a great molecule. However, it's not very bioavailable to the body. So when you're buying resveratrol, buy it with, on the label it says piperine, Piperine. It's black pepper extract. It makes it super bioavailable. All of a sudden, instead of having a few milligrams of the molecule wandering around the body, now you got thousands of molecules. So all of a sudden, what was not available to go anywhere is now super available. I wrote about 5 articles last week on Alzheimer's. I've written 33, 34 articles altogether over the last couple of years. And ferulic acid is one that I had not heard of before, but I came across it in recent research. And I said, oh, wow, ferulic acid is an amazing molecule. Ferulic, F-E-R-U-L-I-C, ferulic acid. I think it's wheats and oats and rice and pineapple is a good source of those. But it is good across the board for just about any cause of Alzheimer's. Omega-3 fatty acids, talked about those. They usually come with EPA and DHA. Really concentrate on the DHA part of it. If you can buy just the DHA portion alone, you're going to be far, far better off for brain health. Vitamin D, we hear about that all the time. Now, the big thing about vitamin D is you have to have magnesium to really get it to work. Because what happens in vitamin D, you get the sunshine coming in, hits the skin, and that precursor goes into the liver. But if you don't have magnesium to make the liver create another precursor that goes to the kidney that takes that 25 hydroxy vitamin D and makes it a 1,25 hydroxy vitamin D molecule, now all of a sudden coming out of the kidney is a very active form of vitamin D. But you need magnesium for that. And so magnesium is also critical for brain health. Vitamin E, for instance, is 8 different molecules. You got 4 tocotrienols and 4 tocopherols. And a lot of research shows that, literally almost no alpha tocotrienol, I believe, is the one that in the event of a brain injury that may be like a stroke, it causes these blood vessels in the brain to bypass that blockage because that particular tocotrienol activates that bypass mechanism. And so having enough vitamin E, all 8 forms of it, is really, really bioprotective of the brain and other parts of the body. However, there's not a single source that has all 8 of them in there. But nuts are a very, very good source of that. B vitamins is another great source of anti-inflammatory agents for the brain, specifically B6, B9, and B12. Now, you got to be careful of B12, primarily because it's a cobalamin. If you buy it in a pill form, it has to go under the tongue. Otherwise, it's not what you want. If it's part of another pill and it goes into the stomach, cobalamins cannot pass through stomach acid and be effective. So you want something that's going to dissolve under the tongue. Curcumin, it's that yellow stuff in Indian curry, turmeric. Again, just like resveratrol, you want it to be with piperine because otherwise it gets in. It's a great molecule. It goes right down to the cellular level, and there's only one other molecule I know that's as effective as an anti-inflammatory agent, and that's gamma-mangostin, which is a product, or it's one of the compounds coming out of mangosteen fruit. And so if you can get a mangosteen fruit juice that has the entire pericarp, the rind mixed in with it, then you're getting some really, really good anti-inflammatory product. But curcumin, super good. We could go into some things called cyclooxygenase, but we don't have time today. Maybe down in the future. But another item is grapeseed extract, a wonderful anti-inflammatory, particularly for the brain. One that I really particularly love, and I have it all the time, is called green tea. epogallocatechin gallate, EGCG. It is a catechin within green tea. There's quite a few different catechins, but that one particular catechin does so many different things in the brain. As I'm talking about the beta amyloid here in the future, I'm going to talk about how it changes the structure and pulls it off the end of a neuron. But from an anti-inflammatory perspective, that green tea is one of the best things you can have. So in that respect, I got 1 minute left, and I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you so very much.
Well done.
Fantastic. I am hiring a tutor. Well done. Hi, let's go over to you for some feedback for Red.
Well, as you know, Red and I have been around for a long time together, and I have learned so much from him. And I have asked him specifically, here's what's wrong, tell me what to do with it. And he is just a wealth of knowledge and delivers it very succinctly and very professionally, as any good Toastmaster does. And he has fun with it. He enjoys what he's doing. It isn't a job for him. It's a calling for him.
Yeah. And when he asked me a question, like anybody, even you, Dr. Jacalyn, I'll tell you, I'm not a doctor, but if this was happening to me, this is what I would do, because I can't pass on medical advice. But I can tell you from a researcher, this is what I've learned, from my research, and this is what I would do if it was happening to me. But I would still get my doctor involved and say, hey, I'm doing this because of this information. I had a really good conversation the other day with my cardiologist. He had no idea that you could pull plaque out of the heart valves and arteries that are blocked. And I had a short conversation with them on vitamin K, knock-on number 4, that actually pulls that plaque out. So there's a lot of stuff that our experts don't know about, but if you go in and you do your own research, then you have something to talk to the experts about for your health. And so it's just not one of those things. Do this. It's understanding that the information is provided so you can have an intelligent conversation with your doctor and have some backup material. But thank you, Hiett.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Hiett. Thank you, Red. Mariska.
Well, as Red was talking, I was taking ferocious notes.
I saw that.
I have a whole list of vitamins on my wee little book that I'll need to go and look for, because there's very specific ones that I need to go and look for. But what also came up for me as you were talking is just the importance of taking care of a very vital organ called the brain. A lot of us think, oh yeah, well, I'll exercise and I'll get fit and I'll look really good and all the rest of the stuff that goes with great eating and exercise. But we never think about our brain. And it's so important, because that's the one thing that you literally want to be using for your whole life. So thank you.
Thank you.
I tried to use, I was trying to introduce Red to somebody at a luncheon today, telling them about him, and I couldn't remember a 100-year-old person with the body of a 50-year-old and the mind of a 25-year-old. I couldn't get the sequence right. I've got it now.
Are you guys still friends since then? Or?
Oh, he knows I butchered it more than once.
Well, thank you, all three of you. These were great lessons. I really appreciate it. I'm always just so proud and so impressed with your presentations, your topics, the way you deliver them, and then I love the recap. I think that's fun too.
Our pleasure.
All right, I'm going to spotlight each of you, and please let us know the best way to reach you and who should reach out to you, starting with Mr. Hiett Ives.
Hiett Ives at hiettives.com. 832-372-6900 is scrolling across the bottom, or you can also look at LinkedIn. Companies that are doing trade shows, want to do better trade shows, want to do more trade shows, y'all come and talk to me.
All right, the trade show king, Mr. Hiett Ives. All right, moving on to Red O'Loughlin. How can people reach you and who should contact you?
281-687-1188. 281-687-1188. I'm a bit old-fashioned. Just give me a call on the phone. Red at Red O'Loughlin. Red.O'Loughlin at gmail.com. Last name is OLA. UGHLIN. My website is redolaughlin.com, no dot, just redolaughlin.com, REDOLAUGHLIN. And I'm here to help primarily people who want to write new books, but I speak and write on health and wellness all the time. So if there's a speaking opportunity that you would like to have me talk to an audience about, please give me a call. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Red. And Miss Mariska, who should reach out to you and how can you be contacted?
Okay, so people that want to reach out to me is anybody going from a specialized to a leadership role. I also do workshops. So people that is looking into the workshop space and need to take their team through anything specific, you're more than welcome to reach out. And you can get hold of me on my email, mariska@journeytodiscover.com. So I'll spell that for you guys. It's MARISKA @JOURNEY. The 2 is the number 2, DISCOVER.com.
Thank you, Mariska. You know what I enjoy also, aside from the lessons, I love watching you guys try to remember what your email address is, your phone number, or your website.
AKA.
I watch you like looking at the banner, like, oh, what is it? That's great. All right, I want to let our audience know that we have 7 shows every week. That's right, 7 opportunities to learn from our experts. We are putting together an event. Hyatt, you'll be very happy to know that I did reach out to our mutual contact, and we're going to set up a call to move this thing forward, and we will be presenting more information coming soon to a theater near you. No, I'm kidding. Coming soon. All right, that's all we have for today, folks. Thank you again. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. The playlist for these shows, A Better You, is, guess the name? Oh, it's A Better You. Okay, so simple. You could just go to the playlist and watch all 84 shows there. Thank you so much.
Come back tomorrow at 2:00 and get the after show. You've got the before, you've got the at. Tomorrow you get the after. 2:00 right here.
All right, and here's one of our friends, Diane Boehm. Great show, guys. Thanks, Diane. Diane's on our team as well. And well, I have you guys highlighted. I'm just going to tell you what the shows are for tomorrow. So sorry, you have to just bear with me. Okay, starting, and I'm just going to say in Eastern time, 9 a.m., Life's Amazing Journey. And my co-host is John Christian. Our guest is Philip Chan. Then at 10 a.m. Eastern time, A Better You. Teuta and Daphne will be our presenters. At 11 o'clock is the variety show. It's at a new time. We had it on holiday for the summer, and I brought it back. It's now 11 a.m. Eastern. My guest is Katie Raphael. And at noon with Diane Floyd Boehm, our guest is we're welcoming her back again, Sandy Adams from Cruise Planners. Anything you want to know about how to travel during this time, what's open, what's not, how you can travel internationally, join us then. Okay, then at 3 o'clock Eastern time, as Hy was just mentioning, we've got A Better You. And I've got Dylan Levitt, and I didn't have you down, Hyatt, but I'm putting you down now. Hiett Ives. And
you sent me a notice. You said I
did. I forgot to put it. Okay. Thank you for that. And at 4 o'clock, we have Pet Psychic Amina. It's a new time, half an hour later. And our guest is AJ Weniger. So that wraps up our week. Thank you again, friends. I'm going to leave us with a music video as we ride out into the sunset with Tony Moore, Route 66. See you all tomorrow. Bye.
Thank y'all.